Welcome to Inspirational Journeys of the Best Minds, presented by MENA.
It is a podcast that showcases leaders who are making their mark through their fresh perspectives and leadership strategies that are provoking meaningful discussions in their community.
I'm your host, Drishti, and today we have the privilege of speaking with Sherif Tawfik, the Chief Sustainability Commercial Officer at Microsoft. Sherif Tawfik is a true champion of sustainability, recently presented with the Top Corporate Sustainability Voice Award on LinkedIn. He is paving the path from the corporate world with his visionary approach. As the Chief Sustainability Commercial Officer at Microsoft, he plays a pivotal role in driving the integration of sustainability into the company's commercial strategy, ensuring that sustainability is not just a buzzword, but a fundamental part of Microsoft's business practices. With a profound passion for sustainability and a deep understanding of its strategic importance, Sherif has emerged as a leading force in the field.
His innovative ideas and transformative initiatives have helped Microsoft to the forefront of its business strategies, and this was clearly exhibited in his presence at the recent COP28.
We're thrilled to have Sherif join us today, and in today's conversation, we will explore his extraordinary path that has led him to his current role and uncover the defining moments that have shaped his journey. Welcome, Sherif. It's an absolute honor to have you here. Before we begin our discussion, I want to kind of get into your background and understand a little bit of like the root and the starting points of your career. So I just want to know, what was it like as a kid? Like, is sustainability something that you wanted to start your career in? Or, was this something that you figured out as you went along?
Thank you, Drishti, and thank you, MENA team, for having me. It's an honor and a privilege to be here. Actually, as a kid, no, sustainability was not something that I thought about at all. Actually, during my early childhood, I was fascinated by the idea of flying and helping others, fueled by my love to superhero movies, specifically Superman. I still vividly remember when I was like 6, 7 years old, when I first seen the Superman movie, I actually attempted to fly. And it led to a head injury. So I recognized that flying is not an option for human beings. So I shifted my passion towards being a fighter pilot, which would allow me to fly and as well as defend my country and my loved ones. But this dream was dimmed by me not having a perfect eyesight, and I knew that being a pilot, you require perfect eyesight. So I steered my passion and towards something different, which is computer games, programming. When you think of it, after all, computers can literally and figuratively make you fly in terms of the things that it allow you to do. And during the late 80s tech boom, when Microsoft started to embark and be vocal around its mission to bring a personal computer into every home and on every desk, and the story of Bill Gates started to inspire young folks, I developed this very strong desire to join Microsoft, actually since high school. So I pursued a degree in computer science and engineering, and post-graduations, I immersed myself in a startup ecosystem that works very close to Microsoft. And I was super lucky, roughly in March 2000, to be headhunted actually by Microsoft, marking the beginning of a very exciting career in this amazing company.
Oh, wow. So it sounds like your upbringing and it sounds like where you were placed had a huge role in like inspiring you to take on your role at Microsoft, or even just take on your role within technology. Can you tell us a little bit more about what it was like growing up like in Egypt, or like what kind of formed you as like, formed sort of the earlier inspiration of your life? Like what kind of motivated you to kind of help your country, or like just kind of, make sure that you're making the most of your expertise or your like skill set?
So I think the first 7 years of my life, I was raised in the UAE, and then I moved to Cairo, Egypt, my home country, where I lived approximately 23 years. And then subsequently, I returned to the UAE, and I've been living there since 20 years ago. So you can do the math quickly to know my age, 7 plus 23 plus 20. However, while being based in the UAE, in 2014, I took the role to be the country manager for Microsoft in Bahrain and Oman. this was the same year that my ex-wife and 4 daughters relocated to Canada, and I made regular visits to them every 6 weeks. Throughout my career in Microsoft, a significant portion involved regional responsibilities covering anything between 80 to 110 countries, which involved excessive traveling. And when I say excessive, really excessive traveling, I remember one of the years, Drishti, I did the math, I spent on a plane equivalent of 700 plus hours. And when you do the math of 700 hours, that's literally 30 days of the year. I was on a seat on a plane, not traveling, on a seat on a plane. I was doing more planes per week than some would do Uber, actually. So this excessive traveling lifestyle made me grow to appreciate the richness of all colors and walks of life and embark on this cultural and professional and ethnic and stylistic divides and really embrace that to the core. And I think this created a strong tendency to be curious and to think of things that would have as diverse impact as possible in terms of bringing and bridges those divisions or those differences to one big unified impact to the people as much as possible. And I think also my late mother was a teacher, and that also influenced a lot this tendency to help and grow others. But of course, there is a downside of that, which is the tendency to not enjoy the status quo. Like I get restless pretty quickly. I think this kind of very diverse, vivid, heavy traveling culture, I think, impacted my personality a lot.
Oh my God, wow, that sounds incredible. And I absolutely admire the fact that you put that much dedication. But I think, now that you've highlighted that, with travel, obviously, I'm sure that can have like sort of a mental toll on you as well. Was there anything that you learned about yourself in the process, or, like if was there like a moment of self-reflection where you realized something about, you, or like where you see yourself headed? And, I'm sure you must have had moments of doubt. So how did you navigate that?
I think when I look back, I learned that how I can consider myself a very conventional person, but also non-conventional at the same time. So, and this reflects on my life. Professionally, I've spent 24 years in Microsoft, which may make me appear as a typical corporate executive. However, within those 24 years, I've been more of a corporate entrepreneur, a builder, constantly innovating and building new ideas or businesses. I've even had new titles invented just for me, showcasing my unconventional approach towards work. On a personal level, again, I think of myself as conventional, but I thought that I have a stubborn personality that is resistant to change, but also to discover that I have been continually evolving and adapting. I had a fear of heights, but I forced myself to enroll into a skydiving course. I have a fear of deep water and deep blue, and I forced myself to become an advanced PADI scuba diver. I'm dyslexic and I have issues in reading, but I pushed myself into an executive MBA, and I graduated with distinction, top 5% of my class. So these experiences have shown me that yes, I think I'm conventional, and maybe I'm set in my ways, but there is an incredible strength that lies within that keep pushing me beyond my limits constantly to challenge what I thought is a limit to be a no limit.
Wow, that's incredibly inspiring. And I think I definitely would love to have that kind of inner courage and strength. But I will kind of want to explore that further and understand. But people who that, like, for example, for people who look at, like you've mentioned that you had so many challenges internally and externally, for people who may have those kind of challenges, what advice would you give them? Like, how would you tell them that, look, despite these challenges, you should kind of have more of a like the positive mindset that you had, and kind of focus on how you can, use those challenges to some extent to your benefit? What would be like your key points of advice?
I think it's just the constant change of narrative. Like you have to really relook at the narrative that you are faced with and then turn it to your advantage. So as a dyslexic person, reading is a challenge, yes. But at the same time, when you force yourself to learn by doing, by like literally on the job type of learning, of practical type of stuff, troubleshooting, trial and error, then the level of intuition you build because of your dyslexia becomes a strength, and it becomes a motivation for you to kind of continue this type of learning. Um, um, in a way, when I joined Microsoft, you're faced with what we refer to as the Harvard effect. You think you're good, but everyone is actually good at the same time, and actually everyone is so eloquent in terms of how they present themselves. But then you think, okay, you want to continue growing. I came across a great book called Blue Ocean. I'm not sure if you guys read it or not, but it's the Blue Ocean strategy, which is instead of going and compete where Red Ocean is, where everyone is competing, create new ideas and new areas, which is blue in nature, so nobody is there. It's less blood, so more serene for you, and reinvent the game and reinvent the things that you can excel at. So you redefine the narrative, you redefine the situation, and then create things that you can excel at, and in a way work around your weaknesses and leverage your strength.
Sure. Wow. That's really inspiring. I've definitely taken note of that. And I wanted to kind of also understand that I wanted to kind of focus. You mentioned that, like that Harvard effect where you said you're good, but everyone else is good as well. I think with the incredible amount of competition that there is out there today, and with, with the level of competitiveness there is even within companies like Microsoft, what would you say to people who are at that, who reach that platform where they're potentially sitting on the table with people who are, executives that are much higher than them, or, with people who are professionals who have a much higher pedigree than them or more well networked with them? How does one still maintain their confidence? How does the one still hold their own? And more importantly, how does one, still keep believing in themselves and knowing that, that they still have value to add to the organization, be it in sustainability or technology, AI, what have you?
So I think it's multiple things here, Drishti. I think, first of all, feeling privileged that you are surrounded by good people, because the moment you feel privileged, the moment you will appreciate that, and the moment you start observing how can you maximize your benefit from those peers, friends, colleagues. So you start learning, and kind of like a sponge, you keep sponging the best out of everyone. So that's a piece that is very important. The feel of privilege, hence you become thankful. Then your mindset is positive. Then you start learning from the colleagues and the peers and friends. The second is, again, as I said, think of how you can leverage your strength in a way that creates uniqueness for the opportunities and the type of roles or functions or challenges that you start undertaking. It's very important to understand that you create your roles. Job descriptions do not define you. If you stick to job descriptions, I think that's a huge lost opportunity. You really, specifically in big companies and innovative companies like Microsoft and our dear competitors, I think there is a push for innovation. So yes, a job description can be a starting point, but however, you can always define and redefine your job description to speak to your strength, to your development areas, as well as the next big thing that you would like to achieve. So do not submit to job descriptions. Create your own job descriptions, leveraging your unique strength, and at the same time the learnings that you get from your esteemed colleagues and friends.
Oh wow, that's I really like that. Create your own job description. I think a lot of people are so focused in life and, making sure that they're achieving those targets, or they're, like sticking to what's expected of them, that I don't think they necessarily push the boundaries and think, well, how can I do this differently, or how can I explore this in a different way? How can I create my own opportunities. So I think
Actually, on that one, because I mentor lots of great people, when you execute in your job description, guess what? You stay in your job. So in a way, ironically, when I'm mentoring an account executive or an account manager, okay, you can execute on your job description as an account executive, but that's a recipe for you staying as an account executive because you're doing the job that you're asked to do. But this doesn't mean growth. This doesn't mean promotion. This doesn't mean moving to the next big thing that you're dreaming about. So actually within your job, I'm not saying do not execute your job description, but you have to always redefine your job description in a way you're executing or you're on your next job while you are in the same job. And this is how you can hack the growth career ladder within large organizations like Microsoft.
That's really interesting, and I think, like you mentioned, hacking the corporate ladder. I think that's something that a lot of people are grappling with today. But I think for the more in a more broader understanding, and I'm sure companies like Microsoft, if it's one of the biggest companies in the world, if not, I mean, it's done incredibly well in the last decade or so. But I want to understand what are some of the things that you kind of learned in your time at Microsoft, maybe about the culture there, or maybe when you worked with the incredible talent that you had available, or even mentoring people. Are there any sort of observations you had, or is there any sort of dynamic there that you think really helps people understand or navigate their own careers?
I think not necessarily to Microsoft. I think in general, when your decisions are guided by a compass, I think it helps a bit of integrity and consistency in your decision throughout your career. So in my case, I've been always guided by what I refer to as a trident compass, which has an element of purpose. There has to be purpose, something that is larger than life by nature, close to be unattainable. Like you have to have something that is larger than life, that should be very, very challenging to keep you going. Another aspect is curiosity. You have to be super curious, specifically in the tech world, whereby one given knowledge can be outdated in few months with another new technology or a new, more updated knowledge. And you have to have ambition. This tech boom allows you to grow, allows you to have ambitions. So I think the combination of taking any decision that is guided by purpose that is larger than life, extreme curiosity, and ambition, I think helps in directing your decisions. And I think another piece, again, going back to the Harvard effect, have the belief that whatever is happening to you is fair and makes perfect sense, and you are accountable. Don't ever fall to a victim mindset. The moment you fall into a victim mindset in those organizations that are full of super talented people, it will not help at all. On the contrary, it will be like a downward spiral to you. And believe in this famous Steve Jobs speech that you can only connect the dots backward. So sometimes what's happening to you now is perfectly fair. You are accountable, and maybe this serves another thing that would take you to the future. When you look back, you will say, this makes perfect sense. And you have to have this balanced combination of confidence that you can take on the next challenge, but at the same time, humility for you not to be a know-it-all person. You need to be a person who is open to learning. And so it's the balance between humility and confidence. Confidence to keep you going, but humility to keep reminding you that there are people better than you. You can learn from them. You need to be open to curiosity and updating your learning all the time. So this balance would bring the right attitude to those companies, to those cultures. People will notice that you are a person that would take on big challenges, but at the same time, not arrogant, not to know it all. So you start having people interested to work with you, and sponsors also more invested to make you grow faster and faster.
Wow, that's definitely something that I like, the sort of the compass, that analogy, because I think I kind of want to just maybe I don't know, maybe I kind of want to channel back to the idea of purpose, because I think that's something that, I think that's one of the first things you mentioned, and I realized that that's actually something that a lot of people struggle with. Like, they have the career, they have the resources, sometimes they may even have, the opportunity sitting in front of them, but finding your purpose, I find, is really a tough one to navigate, and it's obviously something that's been, it's been encouraged as much as possible. So if you could, I mean, I know this is a kind of a nuanced question, but if you could say how does one come about to finding their purpose? And even when one thinks they have, how can they be sure of it?
No, it's a very, very tricky question because, first of all, purpose talks to motivation. Motivation changes by age or by change of circumstances. But I think a good litmus test for that is that if the purpose is very individualistic, if it's very centered around yourself, then I don't think the purpose that we're talking about. It's not the purpose that the question is aiming to find. So I think the purpose has to be something that is outside you, something that involves, at a minimum, family, friends, social circle. And again, it's something that would always increase your circle of concern. You remember there was this book, The 7 Habits of Highly Successful People. It was a reference of circle of influence and circle of concern. The larger the circle of concern and the wider you try to stretch your circle of influence, it's a litmus test of successful people who are concerned by things that are larger than themselves. They care about a specific cause, more social impact, something that would transform the world, change the world, those type of high, big aspirations that are usually larger than life. So this is their concern, and continuously they try to expand their circle of influence to be able to actually actualize this concern and this quote-unquote purpose. But if it's just food and shelter for you, that's survival. That's not purpose. I think so. So I think you need to really think: is it about your own survival, or is it something that is larger than you, and it's something that somehow it will be read in your eulogy sometime when after so many years, hopefully, that people will be saying that in your eulogy. So I think of your eulogy, and then maybe your purpose becomes a bit more clearer.
Yeah, definitely. And thank you so much. I know that was a very true, that was a loaded question. So appreciate your response on that. I think just to kind of wrap things up and kind of, give something a little more meaning to maybe social impact. You've made incredible amount of progress in sustainability. And I think your achievements, but more importantly, your passion speaks volumes. So I think maybe if there was something, for those who have found their purpose in sustainability, is there any piece of advice you'd like to give them, or is there any starting points that you could recommend them? Having been in this space yourself and having made so many large strides in it.
I think, again, be super curious. This thing is super complex, extremely complex, and multifaceted, multi-domain as well. There is carbon, energy, water, waste, circularity, and under each, actually, and plus biodiversity, plus under each, there are multiple elements in that. So you have to pick a specific domain where you start with. You have to be patient. Don't take topics as a cult, because the moment because sometimes I feel some of the folks in sustainability are almost like acting and behaving like cults in a way. Themselves against the world. So it cannot be, actually, I think, addressed or tackled with this level of confrontational. It's us versus the world. It's a very collaborative topic. You have to have the patience to bridge opinions, understand that each and every, actually arguably, topic, there will be a counter argument. Is electric vehicle good? Yes, from one side, but another side that can be also scientific, not really, because, and then they will have their own points, because maybe lithium in batteries, the mining of that is harmful to the nature, maybe because you still consume energy from fossil fuel powered grids, so still it's so you go into, there is always an argument of pro and cons for each and every topic. So you have to be grounded, and not highly charged, and you have to be patient and understand that this is something that would require patience, and also your ability to bridge between different opinions and different walks and colors of life as much as possible. So you're always like acting like a translator between two different camps. And if you don't do this, you will be alienating people and making people feel that this is a very exclusive topic and they will not be interested to listen to you. So you have to always carry this mindset that you have to be open to other opinions, and as much as possible, try to simplify the topic and attract more people towards doing the right thing as much as possible. And at the same time, you also need to look for environments that has the right culture. There is a famous say called people join companies and leave managers. I would actually make a spin on that. Actually join managers regardless of the pay and leave companies because of the culture, if the culture doesn't inspire you. So actually do not just join companies. Look for the person that you will be working for. Specifically, if you're early in career, I cannot really state enough the impact of your first few managers in your professional persona. So you have to really look at the managers that you would like to work for that would inspire you. And again, finally, and I can't repeat this enough, be very curious and don't be concerned about money in the first phase of your life as much as you can, if you can, of course. That's it.
Oh, amazing. Thank you so much for that advice, Sherif. And today's conversation has been
Sure.
extremely insightful, to say the least. I
pleasure.
thank you again for being a member of our podcast, and looking forward to speaking to you soon.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me.